So today we'll see a small servlet application, like welcome to servlet, a message displayed in the browser using a servlet program. For this we have a particular directory structure for a servlet program. Means to develop a web application we need a directory structure. So what does directory structure consist of? We have to see. Like here, first a root application will be there. So I'm just giving a syntax of the entire application. Like here first a root application will be there. Say root application name, and next after that we have a main folder which servlet, like servlet engine or the server looks for. Like you can say web-inf. So this must be given in capital letters with the hyphen in between without any space. Okay. So next thing, in this web-inf again we have some subfolders. Like here you will be having a class folder, classes you can say, or you will be having a lib folder. Okay, so I'll just draw the structure, and this application must be created inside a web apps folder in a server or a Tomcat server you can say. So in this web-inf again we have like three things will be there, two in folder. So whatever I'm keeping in the box is a folder, and whatever I'm keeping outside is a file. That you have to understand. So these are the folders which we have kept in the box. Like in the web-inf you will be having the classes without any space at the starting or at the end. Okay, and after that we have a particular thing known as lib. No full form, just only lib will be there. So what that lib indicates means library files. Suppose I'm communicating with Oracle database, then OJDBC14.jar file is required, right? That will be kept inside the lib folder. Suppose I'm communicating with the MySQL database, then MySQL connector library file, jar file will be kept inside the lib folder. Okay, and one more thing will be there known as web.xml. So what is web.xml? We have, it's nothing but configuration file is nothing but web.xml you can say. Okay, so web.xml is a configuration file. Now in this dot class file what we'll have, all the dot classes and all the dot jar files. For supporting the application we required all these things. Okay, now coming to web.xml, web.xml is a configuration file. Next thing, if I want to write, I have to write dot HTML files. I have to save directly in the root application name itself. Okay, and after that if you want a particular dot CSS file, dot JS you can say, dot JSP, images, or like any other folder or supporting files you want to have, you can have it directly inside the root application itself. There is no restriction. Okay, so the files can be saved inside that. Now this is the directory structure, and if you want to develop a web application, every time every programmer has to follow the same conditions. Like it should contain the web-inf without any space and hyphen in between. classes small letters without any space, lib without any space. It's mandatory, and it's compulsory that web.xml should be there for a servlet file. So what is web.xml? I'll explain. So now I want to start an application. I want to create a welcome servlet. So I'll give the application name as welcome servlet itself. So I'll just name it as welcome servlet. And here it's not mandatory to have the like case capital or like small here and capital. I just given the application name as welcome servlet. Okay, and next just avoid the spaces between the names anywhere. So next thing will be compulsory webinf, because in the webinf only we'll have the files. Next, after the webinf, what we have? We have the classes, and inside the classes we have the lib. Okay, so basically I'll not write any HTML files now. A small application which contains only servlet I'm going to write now, and there is no lib library file because I'm not communicating with the database. Just I'm starting with a small servlet page, a dynamic page I want to create by using servlet, and how it can be done I want to know. That's it. Okay, and how we write the code. So here the next thing. So what's the first thing will be here? It will be classes in small letters, lib అనేది ఉంటుంది. Okay, and the last thing will be the web.xml. So in the classes what we have to keep? A servlet class. Welcome servlet class dot class files must be kept. So ఇది mandatory. ఇవి చూసుకోవాలి ఎక్కడ ఏవి పెట్టామో అనేసి. Okay, now all these things must be done in a folder, in a server folder. So yesterday I told that we are using a server known as Tomcat server, right? I installed the Tomcat in a E drive. Tomcat folder is there. In this, bin is required, lib is required, web apps is required. Okay, so if you have seen the video what I have sent, in that lib is used for the servlet-API to set the class path. Means other than Java, if I have to use a jar file, then dot class or class path must be set for the jar file. Okay, next thing, web apps is the most important folder where all the web applications will be placed. Means here whatever the folders I am keeping, each folder represents a project. Okay, like suppose I am creating a new folder. So what is said? A welcome servlet folder name must be there, right? So I'll just name it as welcome servlet. Okay, so next after that what you have to create? Inside the welcome servlet webinf must be there. So I'll create a webinf now. So web-inf. Next classes. Next lib. So ఇలా classes ఇంకా lib అనేది ఉంటుంది. Okay, now welcome servlet consists of the web-inf and the classes. ఈ క్లాసెస్ లోపల ఒక ఫైల్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలి. ఏంటి ఆ ఫైల్? ఆల్రెడీ వీ హ్యావ్ రిటన్ ఏ మై సర్వ్లెట్, రైట్? ద సేమ్ వే యూ హ్యావ్ టు రైట్ ఏ welcome servlet. So I'll just open the my servlet program what I have written. I'll just modify that now. So my servlet dot java, right? So I'll just edit this thing. Instead of my servlet, what you can say? Welcome servlet. Why I'm writing this? Because I'm writing a message welcome servlet. So it's not mandatory, it's up to your requirement. And the class must be declared as public, it's mandatory. You have to like import these packages, servlet and the IO. Now there is no implementation, so we have to do the implementation. Next here, save as, what I'm trying to say, welcome servlet.java. సో ఇక్కడ సేవ్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఏమని సేవ్ చేస్తున్నాను నేను, వెల్కమ్ servlet.java. ఎక్కడ సేవ్ చేస్తున్నాను, already I've copied the path of Tomcat. In the Tomcat web apps is there, in the web apps welcome servlet is there, webinf is there, classes. ఈ పాత్ మొత్తం కాపీ చేసుకొని ఈ పాత్ లోపల మన ఫైల్ అనేది ప్లేస్గా సేవ్ చేయడానికి. సో కాపీ అండ్ హియర్ what you can say, in another folder you can paste that directly. Okay, so if I just run this thing and say classes, our classes అనేది run అవుతుంది. And I have to do the same thing here also. So ఇక్కడ నేను classes అని సేవ్ చేసి ఇక్కడ welcome servlet.java సేవ్ చేస్తున్నాను. Why? Because you need to generate welcome servlet.class file, but I have saved only .java file, right? So it's a .java file which is getting generated. Now I have to convert this .java to .class file. So how to compile, cmd, next e drive, series space, this particular what we have, path java c space welcome servlet.java. జస్ట్ సింపుల్ నేను కంపైల్ చేయగానే నాకు కంపైల్ అయిపోతుంది. కానీ I have to display a message, right, in the browser. Then how to achieve that? If suppose if I want to print a message, if I write system.out.println, where the output will be displayed? Where will be the output displayed?
Console.
Console, or you can say the command prompt. దీనిపైన డిస్ప్లే అవుతుంది ఎందుకంటే నేను system.out.println యూస్ చేస్తున్నాను కాబట్టి. But if I want to print on the browser, to print the data on the browser,
Out.println.
browser, we need to use a class known as print writer. What is it? Print writer. So where this class is there, in java space java dot io dot print writer. Okay, so in this print writer we have the println, right? Yes, we have the println methods. Now I have to create an object for this, but I said we don't use any new keyword. Then how to generate the object for this particular class? Java p space java dot or java x dot servlet dot lang, sorry, servlet dot
Servlet.
response అనేది ఉంటుంది. Okay, so what is the reference we have? Servlet response. ఈ ఇంటర్ఫేస్ ఎందుకు నాకు ఇప్పుడు, ఇది ఇంటర్ఫేసే ఎందుకంటే ఐ నీడ్ అన్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఆఫ్ ప్రింట్ రైటర్. ఆ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలంటే ఒక ఫ్యాక్టరీ మెథడ్ ఉంది. ఎక్కడుంది ఆ ఫ్యాక్టరీ మెథడ్ అంటే గెట్ సెట్ సర్వ్లెట్ రెస్పాన్స్లో. గెట్ రైటర్ రిటర్న్ టైప్ ఏంటిది ఇక్కడ, ప్రింట్ రైటర్. ఓకే, సో హౌ టు కాల్ దిస్ మెథడ్ నౌ? By using what object I can create call the get writer method?
By servlet response.
What is the servlet response object? ఆ నేమ్ ఏంటి, ఆబ్జెక్ట్ నేమ్ ఏంటిది, ఎవరు క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నారు, ఎక్కడి నుంచి వచ్చింది, అది ఎప్పుడు వచ్చింది?
servlet response dot.
servlet response.
Print writer.
ప్రింట్ రైటర్ సింపుల్ క్వశ్చన్ అడిగిన నేను. మనకి గెట్ రైటర్ మెథడ్ కాల్ చేయాలి. సో ఇది సర్వ్లెట్ రెస్పాన్స్లో ఉంది. సర్వ్లెట్ రెస్పాన్స్లో ఉంది అన్నప్పుడు సర్వ్లెట్ రెస్పాన్స్ ఒక ఆబ్జెక్ట్ కాల్ చేయాలి. సో నాకు సర్వ్లెట్ రెస్పాన్స్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఏంటిది, ఎప్పుడు వచ్చింది, ఎలా వచ్చింది?
Interface, it doesn't have an object.
అర్థం కాదు. ప్రింట్ మళ్ళీ చెప్పండి.
Interface, it does not have any object కదా.
రైట్, బట్ సబ్ క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ స్టోర్ చేస్తుంది కదా. అంటే ఆబ్జెక్ట్ లేనప్పుడు మళ్ళీ గెట్ రైటర్ ని కాల్ చేయలేమా మనం?
ఆ నేమ్ తో కాల్ చేయాలి.
సబ్ క్లాస్.
Object can be
subclass.
stored inside the reference, right? అదే పర్టికులర్ ఫ్యాక్టరీ మెథడ్ ఒక ఇంపార్టెన్స్ అది.
సబ్ క్లాస్ తో కాల్ చేస్తాం.
సబ్ క్లాస్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ అదే ఎక్కడ వచ్చింది, ఎవరు జనరేట్ చేశారు, ఇలా వచ్చింది. Here, so response is there, right?
Yeah.
Who is generating that response object, I'm asking?
We are creating.
How we are creating? Where you have created?
We just giving the name response. It's our wish. We can write whatever we want. Right?
Okay, fine, but ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఇలా వస్తుంది, అక్కడ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ నేను ఇవ్వలే కదా, నేను క్రియేట్ చేయలే కదా.
When we are initializing, it will give in the servlet config.
Yeah, servicing phase. Service method is called by the servlet engine. Servlet engine creates the servlet request object, servlet response object, and calls the service method. Yesterday's point, yesterday's class. Here I said we'll implement the methods, and those methods must be implemented when you have the object, and those objects are created by the servlet engine itself. అంటే ఇక్కడ ఏది చేసినా సర్వ్లెట్ ఇంజిన్ చేస్తుంది, కాలింగ్ అయినా సరే ఆర్ లైక్ క్రియేటింగ్ అయినా సరే. ఓకే, జస్ట్ ఇంప్లిమెంట్ అనేది ప్రోగ్రామర్ చేస్తాడు, అది ఇంపార్టెంట్. నౌ యూ అండర్స్టూడ్ ఎవ్రీవన్. ఫస్ట్ థింగ్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు అండర్స్టాండ్ దట్ when you are calling a method there must be an object, and if you write the name the object won't come. Someone is generating from somewhere, the object is coming. If you understand that, then you can understand or visualize the flow of the program. అంటే ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఫ్లో ఎక్కడి నుంచి ఇక్కడికి వెళ్తుంది అని అర్థమవుతుంది. ఓకే, సో దిస్ సర్వ్లెట్ కాన్ఫిగ్, హూ ఇస్ జనరేటింగ్? సర్వ్లెట్ ఇంజిన్. Who is calling? Servlet engine. Who is generating the servlet request object, servlet response object? Servlet engine itself. And who is calling the service method? Servlet engine. Who is calling the destroy method? Servlet engine itself. So everything is done by the servlet engine, and I can use this object because it has a subclass object by using which we can call the method. What method you can say? Response dot get writer. Why I am writing this? Because response dot get writer will have a object known as print writer. And why I need print writer? To print the data on the browser, we need a print writer class. Okay, is print writer class? How to know that? Just see the thing. We had this print writer class known as, here you can say class. Print writer is a class, you can say, right? Now next thing, response dot get writer, if you call it, you can write print writer pw equals to response dot get writer. So what is pw here?
Object.
A reference or object which stores the memory generated by this particular method. Dani ఇది పాయింట్ చేస్తుంది. Means we don't use the new keywords, we use factory methods every time. And the class name also takes the object as a parameter. That's the most important thing. So the same code here we have to write response dot get writer, and this generates a print writer object. And why we need this? We can call a println method. This println method can print the particular message on the browser. So welcome to servlet. Simply I'll write this, save it. Okay. Now I have to compile because I need to generate a dot class file. Right. So again I'll generate the dot class file. Here Java C space welcome servlet.java. So dot class file is getting generated. And to execute this dot class file we need a configuration file. Means how the server will know that it has to execute the welcome servlet class itself. We might write multiple classes, right? Here I have written only one class, welcome servlet. I can write next thing like home application or any other servlet, right? Login servlet, registration servlet. Then how the server will know it has to execute a particular class from where it will start. So
By
for
setting
that,
class path.
no.
HTML.
For that,
HTML.
no. For that we need to write web.xml configuration file. Okay.
Architecture.
Setting class path is for the library files like servlet-api we are going to use, or the OJDBC14.jar file we are going to use. For those you have to set the class path because those are not developed by Java. Those are developed by database vendor and server vendor. Now I'll write a web.xml file where it consists of web app. Here a web app folder will be there, or basically right. So it is web app itself. In this web app, the opening tag and a closing tag will be there every time for everything. Okay. XML is nothing but which contains the information, which contains the servlet class with a servlet name. And to map this servlet class and the name, we use servlet mapping tag. So two tags will be there in this web app. One will be servlet tag. Make sure the spellings are correct or else it won't execute properly. And the second thing will be servlet mapping. So how this tags functions we'll see after the execution of the program. Just know that we are writing this to configure, like to tell the server which class it has to execute. In this servlet, we are having a servlet name tag. Like any name I can write. So I'll write the name as, suppose, welcome app. Welcome app. And I'll close the tag with servlet name itself. Next thing, a servlet class will be there. So servlet class. So what is the servlet class name? You can say it's nothing but web dot, like here, what is it? Welcome servlet dot class file, right? So don't type the names again. The best way of reducing the errors in the web application, if you have written a name or a class or a keyword or anything for one time, don't type for the second time. You can go to that first place, copy that particular thing and directly paste it here wherever you require. So servlet class, this is very important. Usually student ignore this thing, what I'm trying to say. If you follow this for the basic application also, the errors will be reduced. Okay, don't type again and again. Once you have written that, just copy from that and paste it in the next time. So I have to write a servlet name again in the servlet mapping. So I have written already, right? So I won't write it. This will be same, both must be same. So I'll just copy paste it here. Again I'm saying this rule is mandatory. Try to follow that. Okay. Now in this thing I'll have a URL pattern. URL means Unified Resource Locator. By using this URL pattern, the server will identify. So how it is happening will show after completing the execution. So I'll write a particular URL as welcome. URL pattern is also user defined. Anything you can give. Okay, but don't give the symbols and the particular numbers. Try to give the characters. It's better. So this is the URL pattern. I just saved it as welcome, or you can say what, web.xml. Where you have to save? In the web.inf itself. In the web.inf you have to save web.xml. Save it. Now you have to check all the things are there or not in the place. First I need only like welcome servlet dot class. I need second thing known as web.xml. Okay, and the folder order must be web.inf, in that classes lib. So the same things you have to check here. First welcome servlet web.inf is there, fine. Classes is there, in that classes welcome servlet dot class file. Server doesn't do anything with the dot java. If you delete that also it's fine now because we have the dot class file. Now lib doesn't have anything because you are not interacting with the database. Web.xml is there. If you want to know whether the web.xml is working fine or not, open with the Internet Explorer. Only with the Internet Explorer it's better. When you open with the Internet Explorer, if you get the entire code as it is, whatever you have written in the web.xml, means the code is working fine. Suppose I just modify something, like I have removed this slash in the URL pattern. If I just run this thing again, refresh, or you can say close it and open this again, what's saying? It's saying that end tag servlet mapping does not match the start tag URL pattern. Error processing resource. So you have to understand that there is a problem in the web.xml. Give the slash. 100% I'm saying most of the students will do the mistake in the web.xml itself. It's very simple, but yet you get confused with the names and the slashes and the names. So to avoid that, try to follow servlet tag, servlet mapping. Servlet name must be repeated, both must be same. Servlet class will be which class you want to execute. URL pattern is nothing but what you give in the browser. So whatever you want to give in the browser, you will mention in the URL pattern. Now after this, if you want, you can open with that particular Internet Explorer to check whether it's working fine or not. So right click, open with Internet Explorer. Okay, so you got it fine now. Close this thing. So next thing, we have to start the server. How to start the server? Tomcat bin. In that bin, Tomcat 7 is there. Double click and say yes. And every server will have a port number. So what's the port number for this particular Tomcat 7.0 can be known in this particular console itself. Like here it will be given as local, or you can say HTTP bio 8088. So the port number is nothing but 8088. So how to open means just give that name as localhost colon 8088 and the application name, which application you want to execute. Like we have lot of applications, right? In the web apps we have like audit free cloud or the vagabond restaurant or the welcome servlet. Just copy that name, like I'm copying the entire name here, welcome servlet, and paste it here. Don't type it again, it's better. Next URL pattern will be there. So URL pattern, just copy from the slash itself, copy here, and after the welcome servlet just paste it. Means along with that slash, single slash, you have to paste it. And if I just run this thing now, if you get that particular welcome to servlet in the browser, then the servlet is getting executed fine. But this is a normal page, white page, and just a text is there, right? So if I want to add the HTML code, how to add the HTML code now? In the welcome servlet, here you can write the tags. Above the welcome servlet, I can write pw.println, then HTML. In that HTML, you can say h1. In that h1, you can have, or you can say body. After HTML, you will be having body. In that body, single quotes. Make sure that in the double quotes, whatever you are giving, it should be in the single quotes itself. Okay. So I'll say wheat, a particular color, h1 and center. All these tags has been opened and you can close them in the println now. Like in the reverse order, we close the HTML tags, h1, body and HTML. Now save this file. When you save the file or modify the file, you have to compile it again, because if I refresh this also, I'll get the same welcome to servlet, same output. It won't get affected until unless you modify the dot class file, like until unless you generate the dot class file. So dot class file will get generated again. Now once the dot class file is getting generated, you have to restart the server again. Like here we have to close the server. After closing the server, again open it. So Tomcat bin Tomcat 7, just say yes. Simple process. In the browser I have to just print a message known as welcome servlet. For that we need to follow the instructions so that server can understand how to execute a Java class. Those are the rules and regulations, you can say. So now this localhost, all this thing, I'll just refresh it now. I'll give enter. You can see welcome to servlet is getting printed right in the middle, but I didn't got the color properly. Why? Because here wheat spelling is correct, right? After HTML only we give the body tag. Yeah, in body what you are giving, you have to specify that, right? So BG color. So the background color I want to specify. Again you have to compile. Again you have to restart. So close it, restart again. So to avoid all these things, you can use IDE like NetBeans, or you can say Eclipse. So by using this IDE, it will just restart the server internally and execute the code. Okay, so after completion of one web application in this, the same application I'll try to show you in this Eclipse. Then from that moment we can use Eclipse itself. Okay, so if I just enter here, the color has been changed, right? So this is the way of executing a normal servlet program. For revision purpose, just I'm repeating from the start again. Okay, simple. A server is there, servlet engine. It has to execute a class. That class is nothing but welcome servlet. Okay, so a class will be there, welcome servlet. So how that server will know it has to execute a welcome.class file? For that, we have to take the web.xml. Means whatever the web.xml we have taken here, suppose I'll just paste it in the paint. Now first of all, I've just typed a URL in the browser, right? So if I take the URL and check it here, server will take from the name onwards. It will take from the welcome servlet welcome. Then it will go to that particular web apps. In that web apps, it will search for the welcome servlet because it knows that root application is nothing but welcome servlet. Okay, this application it will take. So it will go for that particular web apps, welcome servlet. In that, first it will directly go to webinf. Okay, in this scenario I'm saying, not in all scenarios. In this scenario, it will directly go for webinf. In that webinf, it will open a web.xml because this is a configuration file. How the server knows means, according to these rules, the server vendors have developed that API. So if you edit this, in this thing, it will take that particular URL pattern what we have given. Like here, I have given a URL pattern known as /welcome, right? After taking it, it will go for the web.xml. In that, it will search for the /URL pattern. So the first thing it will do, it will go for the welcome servlet, like welcome. So this is the first thing you can say, right? And now, after the first step, it will take that URL pattern, and from this URL pattern, it will take that servlet name. So the second thing it will do, it will take the servlet name. So in this thing you can say second thing. Now after this welcome app, this welcome app is taken to the servlet tag. Like if you have n number of servlet tags, this welcome app will be taken and searched until it finds the welcome app in the servlet tag. After that, this is the third step. So from the URL pattern, servlet name, from the servlet name, this is the third step. From here, it will go to the dot class file. The next tag, whatever you have, it will go to the dot class file. That dot class file is nothing but the last one which it executes. And this dot class file is taken by the server and executed. In that lifecycle methods, init will be called. Init claim value కాబట్టి ఏం execute అవ్వదు. Next service. Service లో print writer object print అయింది, create అయింది. You are just printing a welcome to servlet code and giving it. Okay, and here this process will be followed for every particular servlet. Every servlet we have a web.xml, only one web.xml will be there. In that multiple servlet tags and servlet mapping tags will be there. Here only welcome servlet one class is there. That's the reason only one servlet tag and only one servlet mapping. If multiple classes are there, then we'll give separate web.xml, but in separate applications. But in a single application, like here, if you see in web apps, how many applications are there? In all these applications, only one web.xml will be there for a project, and different web INF for different particular projects, you can say. Okay. So next thing, what we have, the directory structure must be created according to the rules and regulations. WebINF must be there, so the server should know. Classes will be there, which contains of the dot class file. Lib will be there, which has the library files, and web.xml configuration file is there in the web.xml. Okay. And after creating the folders here in the welcome servlet, WebINF, classes, lib, and the web.xml, in the classes folder, you have to just write down the methods which it implements in the servlet. And those methods are nothing but init, servlet config, service, get servlet info, and destroy. In future, we'll use this servlet config or the init or the destroy. So how to use it, we'll see. Okay. So till now, is this clear or any doubts, everyone?